Ask for the old paths wherein is the good way. Welcome to the Ancient Apologist.
The 21st century has a lot of varieties, variety in technology, variety in places we can go, both here on Earth and into space. But the 21st century offers something else that is religion. Thousands of religions exist in the world, yet where do we find the one true God that we read about in the Bible? I'm here with Bill Haywood, who's an instructor at the Tri-City School of Preaching and Christian Development, and we want to discuss that idea today. Bill, how would we discuss or even conversate with someone who doesn't believe in the Bible? How do we express our views of Christianity to help them understand or understand them?
I guess the starting place is for us to understand what's going on and our anchor and what's happening in the rest of the world. And it's really not a new phenomenon. In Romans chapter 1, verse number 16, Paul says that the gospel is the power of God for salvation. That gospel does not change. Things around us change, culture changes, technology changes, as you mentioned, but the gospel does not change. However, we're living in a world that is so mixed up and has all these different views. And it's a strange thing. We find ourselves in the midst of arguments about definition. The whole idea about spirituality. It's a very foreign concept for us to hear an atheist say that they had a spiritual experience. But they attach different values to those words. And so it's important for us, if we're going to communicate in this mixed up world, then we have to know something about the philosophical language that they're using and from the direction from which they're coming. It does not mean for a moment that we embrace their values or that we agree with them, but rather that we have a starting place so that we can have real communication.
Where would be a good place, I guess, for us to start if we're going to view worldviews and trying to start opening that communication with others?
Well, one of the things that we do in the worldviews class is I begin every course by telling the students, this is not a class about philosophy. This is a class about communication. And so as basic as this seems, the starting place is for us to want to have genuine communication. And that requires us to be good listeners. Now, that's a little bit scary. I've been trained to be a teller. But, one of the things that we found out, as you and I have done for years with Wesley and others doing live radio, one of the effective things that Wesley does is he's a very good listener. And you get a caller call in, it doesn't really matter what you want to say until you know what their question is. Let me share this with you. I've had this actually happen to me a few times over the years. I'll get a call and say, so-and-so is so interested and they're just about ready to obey the gospel. Would you go talk to them? And I go talk to that person and I listen to them and come to find out this person's not even really sure the Bible's the Word of God. Well, they're not just about ready to obey the gospel. And so it begins by listening. Let me share this illustration with you. It's a language problem. Think about the philosophical languages in terms of the various languages that we have in the world. If I was to visit France and I approach a French-speaking person on the street and I want to know something, but they don't know English and I don't know French, and so I speak slowly and they don't get it. I speak loudly and they don't get it. I slow down and I make sure that I pronounce every word exactly and they still don't get it. It doesn't matter what I do. If they don't understand English, they're not going to be able to respond to me. Well, if we're speaking a biblical language to a people and our society is becoming increasingly biblically illiterate, then we have to find these on-ramps. Of course, and perhaps we can talk about this in a future episode, but the number one on-ramp, and this is not just a trite, cutesy thing to say, the number one on-ramp is Jesus. And we're blessed to live in this mixed up world from this perspective. It doesn't take a lot of creativity to see the contrast between pure New Testament Christianity and this vapid world in which we're living. And people see that and they realize, oh my goodness, there's something, they have something. But we've got to be committed to that kind of life. The Apostle Paul would say in 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 22, I became all things to all men so that by all means I might win some. Paul wasn't embracing their values, but he was saying, I'm willing to try to understand where you're coming from so I can use a language that you'll understand.
So really we need to be open to the idea of communication, not so much to damage or cave in our own values, our faith, which we shouldn't do. We should stand
Not for a
firm
moment.
on our faith and our steadfastness with God. But rather it's finding that avenue the same way Jesus would use things around the common people. Relate that to try to illustrate concepts and meanings about what true New Testament Christianity is. It's kind of carrying over that same idea.
Absolutely.
Well, that idea is interesting, and we'll talk about that idea and more on future episodes. If you have any questions, you can contact us at the Tri-City School of Preaching and Christian Development, or even take a class. You can find us online, or you can call in for the Arise to Truth radio program that takes place every Tuesday and Thursday. We have more information to follow soon.